But like, hey, if you want to watch, that's cool because I feel like you can learn some things about me and my anxiety past and my physical past, which is actually pretty important to what I eventually want to talk about. When you just like start telling a story and get like flashbacks. Hello and welcome back to another video. Today is Thursday, April 25th, and today I am filming episode 2 of my knee journey. I filmed episode 1 2 weeks ago. I'm gonna try to space it apart so you don't like just have to watch this continually, just to kind of space out the content and give you like something a little more interesting because there's other videos I want to film as well. I've kind of blocked out a lot of this stuff that happened, so if I can't really remember too many details or it doesn't really make sense to you, I apologize. This event happened either the 18th or 19th, not too sure, but in December of 2013, so that would have made me 13 at the time. To set the scene a bit, it was the last day of school before winter break, and at this point, I mean, I feel like I should have probably talked about this. I still do want to film a video about this whole other separate kind of scenario, but I was at a different school than I was normally used to because it like low-key started on fire because someone decided to start the school on fire, which really isn't funny or as exciting as some people might think. Because we had to catch up on a bunch of stuff going to a whole other school and it was just kind of unfamiliar and a little weird for me. But anyway, the past month or so that I was there, I finally started warming up to it and I became more comfortable. And like just that general time period, I was finally feeling good. I had a few friends. I was super excited for winter break, obviously, because although I'd been enjoying it, like, you know, time off is fun and wintry Christmas activities are always a good time. So I got home from school and I was jumping up and down because, you know, excitement. And I'm like, ooh, you know, it's now officially winter break. I think I need some chocolate. I walked over to the pantry where the Nutella was. We just got like a big, not like the huge jar, but like, I don't know, like fairly big size jars of Nutella, and I'm like, that's what I want. So my mom was gonna reach it for me and I was jumping up and down, and then all of a sudden I wasn't jumping anymore because I fell onto the ground because my knee dislocated. So I'm like, great, this is not how I wanted to start off my break. Like, I was really excited, and you know that feeling when you just like feel so good about something and it's like nothing in the world could go wrong, and then the unexpected just like slaps you across the face and you're just extremely disappointed. Like within like 5 seconds it goes from like 100 to 0. It's like super traumatizing for me whenever it would happen because I wouldn't expect it, and then it would be an intense amount of pain and anxiety because I have anxiety about being in pain, and just because like even though I knew what was happening, it hurt a ton. Like I did mention in that other video also that it might have just been more so that I was afraid of what was happening, and because when I was jumping, I landed in that in-between spot that I was kind of talking about in my other video also, because I was like hopping up and down, and then I had all my weight on that one leg, so then, which was my left leg if I didn't already say that. So then it just like completely gave out. Most of the time what would happen is I would sit there for about 10 minutes, be in this like really uncomfortable pain where like I felt like I couldn't trust my body. So most of the time after about 10 minutes or so I could just get up, and it would suck and it would hurt for a few days and it would be unstable and I'd have to work on it harder, but I would eventually walk around again, and by eventually I mean like within, I don't know, 10-15 minutes. But this time around, I wasn't so lucky, I guess. I mean, I didn't really think it could get any worse, you know? It's almost like a why me moment, like, why do I have to have this happen to me? And then I just get more scared every time because I can't trust my own body and I can't do certain things, and like, I almost felt bad for being excited because if I wasn't excited I wouldn't have jumped up and down, and then, you know, that wouldn't have happened. But anyway, point being, I couldn't like get back up again. Like, I couldn't straighten my leg either. Usually it's like a few minutes and then I slowly like ease back, bend straight. But like it hurt even more than usual this time, which was really odd because I didn't feel like anything different really happened aside from having all my weight on that one leg. But again, we didn't really realize that until later when we had to analyze the whole thing. Instead of it being like 10 minutes, it was like half an hour and then to an hour, and I was just trying to carefully inch my way back to the couch so I wouldn't have to be sitting on the hard kitchen floor anymore, which, by the way, I had probably already cried multiple times, or I was just really scared and anxious in that time, and my mom couldn't carry me or help me because, like I said, like my leg would not budge. Then eventually my father got home and he had to lift me up onto the couch. I remember the process actually. We tried to use quite a few stools so like my leg wouldn't move too abruptly or anything, but I think what ended up happening is someone like grabbed my leg, and I think he just like picked me up once I finally let him, because, you know, I was so anxious and scared about it hurting more and I didn't want anything else to happen, and then I just pretty much stayed there for the rest of the night. I didn't like anybody else being in control of my knee. As I also mentioned in my other video, I didn't like anybody touching my knee, and this was a situation that I'd never experienced before. Like, yeah, I had a knee dislocation problem, and it happens sometimes, and it was super painful and really terrible, but I've never been completely, like, immobilized by it. Like, I trusted my parents, obviously, but, like, my anxiety didn't, so putting all my faith in them to make sure nothing bad happened was really scary. I think not knowing what was wrong kinda threw me for a loop. Anxiety especially, it's mostly being afraid of the unknown. So when you combine that with pain for me, it's like absolutely the end of the world. Now this is all kind of a blur, like I just can't remember what happened when. It was either like that night or the day after, but I've never been in so much anxiety like in my entire life. Like that was the absolute peak. I remember just like drearily, is that a word? Looking at the Christmas tree, because if you've ever had a panic attack before, it's that like at most 10 out of 10 anxiety at the very top when like you're just like you feel like you're dying and you cannot get out of it no matter what you do, like breathing or distracting yourself or whatever. So my dad just thought it might be a good idea to put on Iron Man. And I'm like, I don't really want to, like, anything with violence or anything that would, like, cause any form of discomfort, even if it wouldn't normally for me. Just, like, any violence or loud noises. Just anything else to add on top of the negative feelings I was already feeling. Honestly, I don't remember because I haven't watched it ever since. I kind of decided not to ever again. How is it already 5:54? I have to go eat food. But I did decide not to ever again after that because it was just like so, it had like such a bad connotation with the experience that I couldn't imagine watching it again. But anyway, I think we got 15 minutes into it, and despite thinking that I couldn't be any more anxious, I managed to somehow get more anxious because it wasn't helping. My leg was throbbing. It didn't distract me from the pain at all. It just made everything so much worse. No, he was probably just trying to help, get my mind off of it, but nuh-uh. If you've seen my other videos, especially pertaining to separation anxiety disorder, you'll know that I am attached to my mother, and she's basically the only thing that can calm my anxiety anytime I'm in like such an anxious state and like nothing else works. Like I felt so bad about it, but she had to actually sleep beside me in a chair because anytime she would leave, I would like get even more anxious, like 3 in the morning, and I couldn't sleep and I was in pain, and I like had my leg still in that angle, so it was sore from staying like that. The next day I woke up and it was not significantly better, so to the hospital I went. Getting in the car was just as bad as being carried anywhere else. I do remember having to do x-rays, so like obviously we could like see what was wrong, but I couldn't. Like it was on this like glass table away from everything else, so I didn't have any like stability, and I couldn't really do anything with my leg, and I wouldn't let anyone touch my leg, and it had to be only in the position it was in, and I was in like so much pain, and it was just so uncomfortable. Like I don't even know if I let them like do the x-ray. So I think we just ended up doing it really fast, and I think my mom stayed beside me even though obviously that wasn't supposed to happen. I don't think there was anything physically wrong with my leg. My knee had swelled up probably to the size of like a larger baseball. I don't know. It kind of looked like a baseball. I will insert some pictures here or earlier if I find them. One of them you can see my kneecap is like noticeably more sideways, and the other one you can see that I'm trying to ice it to make the swelling go down. remember, though, having to sit in a wheelchair at the hospital for the first time I'd ever been in a wheelchair, and it was weird. It might have been from the medication partly, and because I didn't get enough sleep, and because I was in pain, and you know when you like, if you have anxiety, if you've like had an anxiety attack and then you're just completely drained by the time it finally subsides, at least like a little bit, and you just have no energy and everything's all blurry. Well, that's kind of what it was like. It was a combination of all those things. Feeling the feeling of sitting in a wheelchair and having someone else like push you around. I remember feeling like, oh great, so now I'm handicapped. I didn't like connect to the experience, you know, like I knew it was happening, but it was almost as if I wasn't there, and I was hoping that I wouldn't like be like this forever because I just felt so weak and useless, helpless. And on top of that, I was ashamed by my intense amount of anxiety because like I'm 13, I shouldn't be throwing tantrums just because something hurts a little bit, you know, like it just seemed really excessive. A moment of self-deprecation where I just kind of sat there and hated myself, which sounds really bad. Because it's not like it was my fault entirely, like at all. Plus, you know, from how excited I was expecting winter break to be fun and exciting, or at the very least, like, you know, relaxing and a nice break from school where I could bake some cookies and have a good time. I was just excited, and then I was just so disappointed. It's like the excitement just got stolen. Like, of course, I had one really good month. I was going to school, my anxiety was lower than normal, I had some good friends and some good times, and then it just all got taken away like nothing mattered anymore. Yeah, it might seem dramatic, but that's actually how I felt. And then sometime in the next few days, my other one, my right knee, dislocated while I was trying to sleep. Like, I pushed on something and that had dislocated, and I'm like, great. Like, it was minor compared to the other one. I could feel that, like, there was a difference. And, like, I'm like, okay, great. So now both of my legs are giving out on me because I haven't done physio or moved around in, like, a week. So that's great. We attempted to do physio and tensor bandages by just, like, by wrapping it up and moving, like, you know, trying to get my leg to straighten out probably for, like, a week. Maybe, I think it was 2 weeks before I got them straight, because eventually I had my, like, after that one dislocation with my right leg, I had it bent too because I was so paranoid about it like dislocating, like I couldn't trust my body anymore, I couldn't have it straight because if it's straight then it might dislocate, and then I was just like stressing about it, so the only way I would sleep is if my legs were up, and then I just ended up like not moving after that because I had to be carried everywhere. And I do remember actually getting a tensor bandage from the hospital, so I think the whole Iron Man thing that I was talking about might have been the night after. When you have a tensor bandage on, it kind of just like holds everything in place, like not so tightly like a brace or like physically holding it, like it doesn't actually keep it in place, but it just adds like some pressure, so it either feels like it's in place or like helps the swelling go down. When it was put on, since it was already in pain and swollen, like it was throbbing, and throbs of pain were something that I hadn't experienced before, but it was moving, and when it moved it would hurt. While it was on, it was, you know, like it was worse than when it was off, even though I know that it was supposed to help it. I think that's when the Iron Man came in to try to distract me, but then it was just all way too much at once and I couldn't handle having it on me. I leaned on like Disney kind of movies, you know, safe movies, like some people have comfort foods, which I did too. It consisted of mostly hot dogs and broccoli. There wasn't anything I could really do because I couldn't even really sit up properly, so kind of had the TV for all my entertainment. I think it was like every hour or two when we tried to do physio, which was like bending my leg out, and I absolutely dreaded it. One of the movies I watched was The Croods. I think it's like a Pixar movie or something. It's about like these caveman men, and like the teenage cave girl wants to go out and explore, but the dad's always like, no, 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 you gotta like stay in the cave. She got out and they had to run because it was like the end of the world or whatever, and they had to like leave. Like, it inspired me to not be afraid, because when you're afraid you're kind of like stuck in that shell, rather than when you go out and explore things, even if it's a little dangerous and you get yourself in kind of a sticky situation, it's usually better off. So like that's kind of the message I got. I don't know, I made like this really dumb edit with like a terrible photo editing app with like weird printing before, so I'll insert it here. Of course, I'm sure none of them had anxiety in the movie, and they're cavemen and it's not real. so it couldn't apply to my life entirely, but it did help to inspire me for a while anyway. So once I finally did get my legs straightened, I believe I managed to do it sometime on my own, because another thing about me is that I don't like doing things like so much on my own that like I don't have any comfort. Like I still need to do it on my own and not have someone else do it for me or like watching me, because then the pressure's on. So like, you know, I have to be in a really safe environment in order to make any progress at all, but I do best when I'm like in that kind of in between. I think I did manage to straighten both my legs, one after a week and I think my left one after 2 weeks. It seems like a long time, but welcome to my world. If you've heard the word like slow progress or slow recovery, like you don't know the half of what that means unless you've met me, because my slow is so slow, which I blame entirely on my anxiety and the fact that I am too scared to do literally anything and could only do what my anxiety would allow me to. Christmas Day rolled around and it was a really depressing Christmas. I didn't expect to still be in so much pain and kind of wasting my breakaway. It's like, well, it's Christmas time and I'm still not better. Yay, great. It's to celebrate, you know? Most of the time what we do is we go to my grandma's house for breakfast or like brunch, I guess, and where we open like a bunch of gifts, like kind of as a bigger family there. I had decided, even though it was a tradition and even though like it would just, you know, probably be the most exciting thing that would happen to me all break, I just decided that I didn't want to go. And like it's come on, like, you know, it's Christmas time, like just enjoy yourself or try to like do what you can in the situation you're in, you know. But and I felt so bad because I was keeping my mother from going because she really wanted me to go and they were already late as it was because I was making such a big fit about everything. But then just the very last minute, like we were already like 2 hours late, I'm pretty sure no one was even there by the time we got there, but I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go, like, it's Christmas, like, I have to go, you know, like, I had that feeling, like, even though, like, I really don't want to go, and it'll really suck, like, if I don't go, I know I'll hate myself, like, that sort of feeling. My father carried me to the car, and my mom's like, well, you know, like, better late than never, even though, like, it's been, like, I've delayed so much. So that was, like, embarrassing, though, still in front of, like, my whole family. I'm like, here I am, like, make an entrance, you know, put all the freaking attention on me. So after that was all done, I just kind of, I guess, came to the conclusion when it was like January that nothing's really changed and I've wasted away my break, and then I started thinking about when I'd have to go back to school, and I'm like, oh my god, like, what am I gonna do? Like, I can't go to school, I can't even move. So my legs were finally getting straight and then we had to stand. But I hadn't like put any weight on my legs for like 2 weeks. Like, I didn't know how to stand anymore. And my legs were just so weak. Like, any weakness that I felt with like a knee dislocation, I feel like I can't walk on my leg, it was like that times 100. Like, there was no muscle, I swore. Because I hadn't been moving for so long that it was just going to dislocate. If my right leg would dislocate after like 2 days of not moving, like what do you think would happen after like 2 weeks of not moving? So like, I wouldn't stand. I had like my parents try to support me on either side, but I would not straighten my legs, like as if I couldn't, as if like it was physically impossible for me to straighten my legs. Even when I got some pressure and weight on my knees bent, I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll just start like this. Like, I can't, like, you don't understand, like, I cannot straighten my legs. It's physically impossible. Was it really physically impossible? No. Could I move my leg? Yeah. Did I practice putting pressure on it and weight on it by, I remember the physiotherapist having to be like, okay, like, you know, straighten your leg and then push like a pillow and a board and like push against it, like, you know, so it could be like you're standing but you're not really standing. Even then I just could not stand up straight because I was so absolutely paralyzed, so afraid. Would not, you know? It was like 100% my brain. Like, I had made myself believe that it was impossible for me to stand up, and if I did, then I'd be in even more excruciating pain than I remembered. And obviously I'd never want to relive that ever again. From then on, I really, truly did everything I possibly could to avoid it. And believe it or not, that meant in figuring out how to walk with my knees bent. As I've mentioned a few times here, I considered bent knees to be safety. And yeah, I guess it was safe. I mean, I managed to somehow figured out how to walk with bent knees, which it kind of seems crazy because it's like putting more weight on your knees when they're bent, because that's like a lot more pressure that you have like on your kneecap. Although, you know, I didn't mind the pressure as long as it didn't hurt or cause anything bad to happen. So eventually, like, I remember having to take like 2 weeks, I think, even more off at school, which really I was like okay with because I could catch up easily on at home. I had my laptop, so I could email my teachers back and forth and have them like send me the notes or like the stuff that I had to do. I was a pretty smart student, like I really didn't have to be at school to understand the school, so I did everything that I had to do at home, and at this point I was in grade 8, so like it wasn't anything too complicated. But eventually I did have to go back to school and trying to straight walk or stand straight. Like I'd have I remember rearranging furniture, especially in the basement. The 2 couches we had like back to back, so like I could hold on to the couches. It was like the perfect weight as I went along, so I could even like lift myself up a little bit if I had to relieve some of the pressure. But that was after a while. Like I'm pretty sure I walked with my mom and dad on either side for a while, but like that was good because I could physically support myself by myself, you know, but still like have the support there. Crutches didn't work out. I don't know if we even ever tried oh yeah, I think there was once or twice, but like no, like it was even more wobbly and unstable than I already was, so I'm like, hell no, like not a chance, I cannot do this. But I couldn't like stay like that because I kind of became afraid of big open spaces, sort of, because like I wouldn't have anything to hold on to, so like my legs literally felt like iron, like the Tin Man on The Wizard of Oz. Like they could be straight at times, but not if I wasn't safe. So if I didn't have anything to hold on to, then like no way. Like I would have an anxiety attack and like die. Like I never got to that point, obviously, because I was so afraid. Like I just couldn't do it. So I didn't, and I ended up going back to school, what was it, like, I don't know, a month later. My class was prepped by the teachers about like, you know, don't make a big scene, she might look a little different, you know, there's whatever, just kind of, they probably just talked to the class about my appearance and not to judge me or whatever, because I was literally walking bent-legged, so I couldn't stand like that or walk like that for any longer than 10 minutes, otherwise like I would pretty much collapse, not like physically collapse, again, never got to that point, but like my legs would just be so weak and I could not stand anymore, so I would sit whenever I possibly could. Unfortunately, doing that for such a long period of time ended up being my biggest regret, because I totally isolated myself from everyone and everything because I just like wasn't myself anymore. Like I didn't have any of the even like near amount of confidence that I used to, and I couldn't like talk to people. I mean, I still had my friends that still like liked me, like nobody like did anything ridiculously terrible or like judged me, like at least externally for it, like no one said anything. It was the beginning of me isolating myself, where I just closed myself off even more from everything because I was not confident in myself. I had no confidence. I didn't feel good about me because I knew that I looked weird and I was uncomfortable. And I didn't like it at all. Like I'm like, you people can all just walk normally and hang out, you know, like you're normal teenagers doing normal teenage stuff, and I can't even like walk to my next class without feeling like I'm gonna die, like mentally and physically. Like I just became such a problem for me. Of course, also it caused me long term to have more of a hunched kind of back. Like it actually did curve my spine because I would walk like hunched with my knees bent. I don't think I had any photos of myself or anything because like I did look for some a while ago, but I didn't want to be seen like that. May, maybe April of 2014, I'd basically been safe as I wanted to be without any dislocations since I decided to start walking bent-legged, and it worked until like May, and then I just all of a sudden when I became a little too comfortable and a little too wasn't thinking too much, I was just walking along, but then I had accidentally straightened my right leg out just a little too far because I was trying to walk fast. So when it happened in the middle of the hallway and someone saw me on the floor with all my stuff everywhere, and it's like, oh my god, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, like, I'll be fine. Like, I was just kind of like stuttery and like not in the right place because I was so shocked because, like, you know, I thought I was so safe, but then I'm like, oh my god, like, this thing happened again. And I'm like, yeah, I should be fine. This happens, like, my knees dislocate. You know, it's like, it's just a thing that happens, like, I'll be okay. And then she went and got somebody, like a teacher or whatever, to bring me a rolling chair to help me up on it so I could kind of roll myself to the library where I could stay like that for a while. And like, I always hate being the person to have anyone else have anything to do with me. Like I'm genuinely so sorry, and I feel so bad if I take you out of your like general life at all. Like, I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm being such an inconvenience. And really, like, it wasn't that big of a deal. I was like, you know, it's not like I could control it or anything, but that was my mindset. So that just kind of reinforced the idea that, oh no, I can't ever, like, I can't have my legs doing that. So then it just like required my full attention entirely, like, all the time. And yeah, so it had been like months, and then, I mean, I think this is kind of where I'm going to end the video because, well, I've literally been talking for like an hour straight, so that's cool. But I did manage to get more information and remember more things than I thought I would. I eventually didn't walk bent-legged, and I'll have to explain that in the next video. Thank you for watching. If you actually watched all of this, like, I'll be surprised if I can edit it down to like 20 minutes, because this is like 45 minutes and that's like some good detail, so I'm like sorry if this was aggressively detailed. I was aiming for about 20 minutes, but I know that's even long for some people. I'll see you next week, probably for more of a anxiety subject related video. See you later. Bye.